Welcome to the after party for the one-shot, the Clockwork Tower.
Hello!
Yay!
Hurrah!
I didn't know what to say.
It didn't completely suck, right?
I hope so.
It was awesome. It was awesome. You did such a great job.
Thanks.
C'est magnifique!
I was so frustrated by the end of the second half of that with the module and the lack of material and information and making sense in the module. DMing is hard, you guys.
DMing is hard.
I don't know if that's... would you really say that it was difficult for you to DM, or did you just have some situations where it was a little difficult to make a decision? But you seem to really enjoy it, right?
Yeah, for the most part, it was fun. It was just those few little things that just, the way it was written in the module didn't make sense, and I didn't have anybody to talk it through with me to make it make sense.
What are you talking about? You talked it through with all of us.
Yeah.
By
the end of it.
Beforehand.
Well, okay,
You were
everybody
there.
put on your thinking caps here and let's get ourselves through this.
No, I mean, would you encourage other first-time DMs to give it a shot? And, we're here really to talk about your first experience and how that went for you.
Yeah, totally. I would say give it a shot if you have an interest in it. And having a module, I mean, I haven't come up with something completely from scratch, so I don't know what the difference would be, but it seems like having a module makes it easier, gives you a good starting point, and so you don't have to do a lot of thinking things through. But I probably should have done a little more thinking things through.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I don't know. And you did, and you said I don't know. It's fine. We're annoying and asking all sorts of little questions. What's this do? What's this do? What's this do?
Yeah, I think I have a better idea of if I was going to do another one, which I would like to do another one someday, and do another module, and I have a better idea of what to look for, I think. Because, I mean, I've played, and I know what it's like being a player and asking all the little questions. But it's different when you're the one having to come up with all the little answers. So it's just, I think next time I will go through and those things that don't make sense in the module or that I can't figure out, I'll just make a decision beforehand, and that's what it'll be. Instead of trying to make it work with what they wrote, make it work for me.
Right. Yeah, because that was actually something I was going to ask you about, because again, I've never run a module. I've only ever done homebrew stuff, so I really can't speak to the differences between the two, really, at least as far as firsthand knowledge goes. But I'm just wondering if you're sitting down with the module and you read through it, and because it is this self-contained matter of perfect knowledge, right? I mean, you're working with perfect knowledge, ideally, assuming the module is a decently written module at the very least. But that notwithstanding, you have this perfect knowledge. And of course, reading through it from start to end, it does make sense to you in that moment. And then you, of course, have, the X factor, which is always the players. So I'm just wondering, were there actual instances when you were reading through it that you were like, I don't understand what they're trying to do with this part? Like, did you find that? Were there instances of that?
Yeah, there were. Like, the clock tower had that entrance on the front of the clock, and it said specifically the door was between the 6 and the 7. And you could see it from the outside if you had a high enough perception check. And then it said you came in on the second floor if you went through that clock tower, through that door in the clock tower, in the actual clock face. You would come in on the second floor. But then it said when you come in on the first floor and you look to the right, there's the stairs that go to that door, which doesn't make any sense because if you came in on the second floor, the stairs would be going through the floor up to that door.
Right. There would be another staircase to the second level.
Right, yeah. So there was contradictions like that. It just didn't make sense to me.
Oh, that's
so that's why I made the clock face so massively huge that you could see half of it on the first floor. Like, It just takes up the whole freaking front of the tower.
Oh, that makes so much sense, because that was something I was especially listening back. I don't think I really paid much attention to it when we were playing, but I was like, listening back, I'm like, where the hell was it? Because you do mention that other door. And you said, had you come through, this is where you would have come through from this door on the outside. I'm like, we didn't even give a fuck about that door. I was like,
right, and I don't think I did a very good job of explaining how big that clock face was and how much of the front of the clock tower it took up. I don't think I ever actually said that. And so that would have helped you guys a little bit, I think.
You kind of did. I asked about it, right? Like once we were inside and you could see out through like the bottom half of it, more or less.
That was another thing that frustrated me with the module is they've said, people see blue lights. Well, how? How are they seeing these blue lights? Because you have, the only thing I'd figure would be through the clock face, because the only window in the place on the second floor is grimy, and they specifically say you can't see through it.
Now, I do want to clarify, this is not a full module. This is like a 3-page...
Yeah, it's very short.
...thing. So it's more like a book of random encounters that has a little bit of background to it. Mm-hmm. So the idea is you're traveling from one place to another, and, hey, you want to insert something into your adventure. Here's a little bit of backstory you can throw out there for a small one-shot. And they just give you a little bit of information for you to sort of fill in the rest. And I think that was probably one of the things you were reading it more as expecting a lot more information than they were actually going to give you.
Yeah, I think somebody that was more used to being a DM, that has done it before and has developed those muscles better, would have an easier time with these modules. With these
they're typically not very descriptive.
Okay.
Right? But there was one page, like the bottom floor was very descriptive. There was a lot of information about the first floor, but then there's a lot of information lacking on the second floor. Like the whole thing with the bells.
So they serve as like this skeleton that possibly a more, I don't want to say advanced, but experienced, sure. A more experienced game master could then add the flesh and the muscle and the skin. And
I think they would have an easier time with it, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a pretty... I could see like using something like that, totally. That's pretty cool as opposed to, a kind of a dinky little random encounter chart that you might roll on kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Gist of the adventure was essentially find out what the blue-white lights were in the tower and is it haunted. That was our goal, right? There's not much of a goal there. You get inside and go up to the top and you should be able to figure out what the blue lights are and know that it's is or isn't haunted, right? So it's really for a couple hours.
Yeah, which is why I picked it, because we wanted to only play for a couple hours.
Yeah, I think as much as you would have prepared them, like you said, well, you could have thought more into this or that before you started. I mean, there's no predicting what people are going to do once they get into a situation. So, like, yes, I can see where you might have felt, I wish I was more prepared, but really, I mean, ask Leland. He is never prepared or could be prepared enough
whoa.
for the incorrigibles, all right?
Excuse me, I'm allowed to say
do what
that.
we want.
You can't say that. Yes, I will certainly agree that I predominantly spitball shit. So that's probably why this idea of this loose skeleton, actually, I'm kind of drawn to, because I'm not really drawn to running a full module. I would just much rather create something that is my own. But that's not to say that I wouldn't, cannibalize a module and use bits and pieces of it and adapt it myself. So that's this kind of thing. It literally sounds like the perfect thing that I would actually want to use.
Yeah, I think it would be really good for you.
So what's I'm not totally familiar with this terminology, like a module versus like what we did. What's the difference?
So a module is usually a story that's set up in chapters, and usually sets you on you'll start out at level 1 and get to level 6, kind of thing. It could be very level based in how it's set up, so you're fighting little easier things at the beginning and working your way up through the storyline.
Okay.
And it's sort of set and has sort of a depth to it. You're going to meet characters that you may meet characters later on, or they all sort of weave together. So it's not that you have to be railroaded into the story, but the DM sort of has to keep you on track.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I like everyone knows, like, you're there to play this, like when you sit down to play a module, you're like, well, okay, we're here to do the goal of this module. I think that's usually all the players at the table know this isn't a sandbox we're playing, and also they're finite, right? The module it will take a finite amount of time as opposed to an open-ended campaign, which we've mentioned, I think, numerous times. Generally, I think most parties will say when you're playing a homebrew open-ended campaign, the campaign never actually ends; it just fizzles.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also I think
that.
a great benefit for like the existence of modules.
So, like, I've seen different books out there. I'm trying to think of a name of one, like Tomb of Annihilation or Curse of Strahd. Would that be considered a module? Those are like full books, right?
Yeah, so back in the early days of D&D, you would get small modules, which were small snippets of an adventure, usually a couple, 2 or 3 level type of things. And in 5th edition, those are usually a lot bigger, usually a number of them together. Like Tomb of Annihilation is a bunch of the older modules put together in one book that you can string together or you can play them separately. But something like, Storm King's Thunder is chapters of a whole entire story. So
Okay.
you sort of, like Leland said, you're sort of sitting down and saying, hey, we're going to play through this. Or you can go in, and a lot of people I know go in and take pieces of those modules and use them in their own sandbox campaign.
Gotcha.
That was another thing. I didn't know how to end it. So you guys basically did your goal, and I'm like, okay, we're done now.
I ended it.
Now.
Pam ended it.
Yes.
Find out next time.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that is that wasn't actually like the end of our recording. We like blathered on for another 5 minutes after that, and
Yeah, I was pretty sure I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, because when you said that, like we were all just like, I mean, we were kind of done, but we were all talking over each other, like not being like, we're just shooting the shit instead of actually recording a podcast. And so we're like, I had to cut out all the blather around you saying that because I was like,
Oh yeah.
this is perfect.
That's Pam. She's perfect.
Yeah, I like the way it ended.
So now that you've done a one shot, recorded a one shot, what are the things that you think were the most enjoyable as a first time DM?
Most enjoyable. I do enjoy tacking you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little too much, I think. You were very gleeful when we missed. And then at times you were like, oh man, they're really shitting the bed here. I wish they were going to do better.
Yeah, I didn't want to kill you because I almost did that the one time John and I co-DM'd, and he reeled me back in before it all went very astray.
Before the TPK happened.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with a TPK if it happens somewhat naturally. But when it's forced.
I didn't want to take you guys out because I want you guys to enjoy it too, and it's not really fun when your character dies when it's not planned. I mean, it's very shocking. But I don't know. What did I enjoy most? I did enjoy telling the story, I think, and leading you guys on what to do. I did not so much enjoy role-playing a bunch of different characters and having to come up with different voices for them because they all sounded very similar, I thought.
Oh, they were perfect.
That's honestly
that was
my
hard for
biggest
me.
fear of DMing is having to have a bunch of voices in my back pocket for NPCs that we run into.
That's also why I didn't let you go talk to anybody in the town or anything like that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to come up with a whole bunch of different people for you guys to talk to. You're going
There's
straight to
a
the
lot
tower.
of people out there that don't do voices for all the NPCs. Like even our friend has mentioned, Bill. She doesn't do that. It's fine. It works.
Well, she's not a real DM.
Well, you heard it here first, kids.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
Now, that does bring up an interesting point. We all did do pretty unique voices as player characters this time.
Oh boy.
That sexy McRib.
I've had nightmares ever since.
I wasn't going for sexy, but hey.
Oh, I thought, yeah, your voice was awesome, John.
I think Pam had that Midwestern.
She's literally my mom.
twang.
She's my mom.
Yeah.
Literally.
Pretty funny.
And and we had some Romanian accents sticking in here and there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, occasionally there was something that was somewhat similar to Romanian.
Yeah, but you know what? I think after that first part that we recorded, you were really down on yourself because you felt like your voice lagged. But honestly, listening back, I don't think your voice lagged that much at all. Like, it was really
I don't
good.
think it did at all.
I think you did a great job, Bill.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it brought me back to episode 1 of the Incorrigible Party podcast, where I was like sweaty palms and super nervous, having to put on an accent, especially one that I've as a kid, I've goofed around with different accents and have a bit of experience, but I've never tried to do a Romanian or even really much of a Russian, which is kind of similar accent. So I maybe bit off a bit more than I could chew.
I think it's great, and I think it's great that if it doesn't always come off well, I think that makes it even that much better.
Oh man, Emily was like, "Who's talking? Is this Pam? Who's talking?" I was like, "Oh, call me on it, okay."
But my favorite had to be Jacques, by far.
He was quite quippy.
Yeah.
It was quippy. He was like Lumiere.
The Jacques and Pam back and forth was
That's so good.
a lot of
I
good
would watch
stuff
a
there.
Jacques and Pam sitcom in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. The way he called her Pamela, I was not expecting it. It was so cute. And then she was like not able to say Jacques, so she was like Jacques. I was definitely channeling my Michigan family with that
Yeah,
accent.
that's a weird dynamic because Jacques definitely has the hots for Pam.
Oh no.
100%. That's how I was playing it anyways. I don't know if it didn't come through, I guess.
No, I did not realize that.
Well, apparently she finds McRibbon sexy.
Well, the
Yeah.
voice. I mean, it's all right.
You were
Just
going
the
about it
voice.
all wrong.
No, Pamela! Jacques has the boom boom stick here.
Oh no. Oh man. There were so many boom boom stick jokes I was thinking of, and it wasn't in Pam's character.
At one point, you're just like, stop saying boom boom stick.
No.
That was one thing I did like about this, is that you guys your characters liked each other and wanted to work together and help each other.
Yeah, that's a bit of a departure from our usual campaign.
So what, Bill and Elena, this being your first character, not from the original podcast, did you like playing somebody different?
Yes and no, because I felt pretty useless and frustrated at one point. Picking spells and things that I thought were cool, but really worked terribly against inanimate objects or animated what are they? What were things?
Mm-hmm.
Non-living things.
Not beings.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating, and I actually do regret throwing such a little temper tantrum there about it, because as I was telling Bill, I was like, if Bryn throws temper tantrums and then Pam throws temper tantrums, if all my characters throw temper tantrums, am I really in character anymore, or is it just me being frustrated? So,
Well, I think because with the bard, you were trying to too much be front line, and the bard really is a secondary character. They are support. You are supposed to be buffing and debuffing
Yes.
and that kind of stuff, and not really trying to attack so much.
yeah, which when a debuff spell like sleep doesn't work,
Well, that's when you buff.
that's when I should buff. But then
Not fluff. That's a different thing.
again, if Bryn is stubborn and then Pam is stubborn, it must just be me being stubborn, because Bill's like, you should be buffing, and I'm like, no. So again, I think it's just hard to sometimes not bring your own opinions into a character. So I think that's what I noticed, more similarities than I thought in those stressful situations with Bryn and Pam, and then taking a step back, I need to be like, okay, this is an Elena problem, not a character problem. So, whatever. Moving on though. After I got through that frustration and could like cast a spell that worked on a creature. That was kind of fun. So I don't know. Trying to talk it out was new for me. So
Yeah, I thought you did a great job. I mean, spellcasting can be tough because sometimes it totally flops.
well, like you've had issues before with not having a ranged spell or things like even Drudge didn't have a ranged weapon. Like, so just random things that you kind of run into when you create a character. I think it was more difficult to play a character that was 3rd level that you didn't level up with and play so many times. So you got to remember all these things. It's not as familiar, but
That was why I capped it at 3 and didn't go any higher, because I figured that was enough for you guys to have to try and learn all at once.
it was a good start. And I liked the introduction to some spellcasting. I didn't do too much, but I don't know. What about you, Bill? I mean, Falzarin. I mean, wait.
I liked it. I liked being, a big departure from being the glass cannon. Well, the glass
The
figurine.
squishy.
I'm not sure that Falzarin's really a cannon yet, but I liked being able to, have an AC that can actually maybe stop an attack or two, be able to get up in people's face and swing at them. That was fun. And the paladin was cool because you can do a bit of magic. You can heal, you can smite. So that was fun. I think it was challenging. I've gotten really used to thinking like Falzarin, and I think we've talked about this before, but Falzarin is in some ways similar to the way I think. So it's pretty easy to just turn the switch and I'm in Falzarin's head, whereas I noticed when I was grabbing stuff from a chest that we broke into and then McRibbon looks, kind of disgustedly over at us stealing from this chest, and I'm like, oh, I'm a paladin too, and I'm lawful good, so probably shouldn't be stealing from chests. So that was challenging to start thinking like a new character, and I think, as you guys have said, these are muscles that you need to work out and that you get better and better with as time goes on. So, but overall, I had a lot of fun. I really liked the opportunity to try something different. It reminded me how much I enjoy writing a backstory for a character, because I spent probably way more time than I needed to on
Yes, I agree. Way
Dredge
too much.
Jed's backstory. Like, I was having a blast looking up, in case it wasn't obvious, which it probably was, researching, Dracula and thinking about how
obvious. Totally. Everyone knows exactly what.
maybe one person didn't clue in. But yeah, like writing that
What
into his
idiot.
backstory.
Actually, I was being sarcastic. I don't think it was very obvious at all until John or Leland or someone started counting. Like, and they counted like the count. That reminded me of.
Well, I tried to make it a little bit subtle. Like I said, Carpathian Mountains instead of
Okay, no one knows where those are.
I do.
Well, if there's geography buffs out there, they would know.
Okay, fine.
I
don't
know
know
that's
where
part
they are.
of Dracula's backstory. I know a lot of weird information, though.
I don't know that, but anyway.
Well, the good thing is these characters still exist. We can use them again.
Did you
so
have
the backstory
fangs?
was not a waste of time.
Dracula's fangs aren't out all the time.
Another
Yeah,
fact
come on,
I
dude.
don't know, but thanks.
Do you even Dracula?
No, I don't.
Do you even Bram Stoker?
I count Chocula.
Leland, do you regret tri-classing?
Oh,
That's what I was going to ask
hell
next.
no. It was, Jacques is literally the best. I fucking love Jacques. And the next goblin, you guys want another goblin NPC in the main campaign? Because you can have one. You can have Jacques.
He might die.
You know what? It was actually really the funniest thing that I thought about the whole one shot was, because I, level 1 wizard, I only have I can only prepare 3 spells because my intelligence modifier was shit, right? So I'm going through, I'm spent all this time picking my 6 starting spells, and I'm like, oh, I'm only going to get to be able to prepare 3 of these, and those are going to be the only 3 that I can use in this one shot. Like, I won't get 6 of them. Why am I even bothered picking 6? And I picked I prepared comprehend languages for the sole reason because I did not speak Goblin and I knew Pam did. So I could cast comprehend languages and Pam and I could speak Goblin to each other. Or I could understand her at least speaking Goblin. And I actually had a use. That was the best thing
Came in handy. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. What are the odds?
No, I think Jacques was a bit of a little tank himself. I think I had the most hit points out of the 4 of us.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's crazy. He was super fun.
John, how did you feel about being a paladin? You're not used to being up front like that.
Yeah, I enjoyed, I think like Bill was saying, I enjoyed more the character development of trying to do something different from Shaft and trying to be something more that upfront guy. And I think especially finding that version of Paladin. So, he was sort of that I think I said, what is the Punisher type of Paladin. I really like that feel, and I like to explore that a little bit more on the character. So, no, I enjoyed it. I did think the one moment that he had is when he got to really, deal all that damage on that one hit with the Great Axe and the Divine Smite and that Mark of Despair thing and take that guy out. It was a crit. I mean, it was a rare situation, but I think that kind of thing when you have a paladin is sort of that moment where you go, yeah, I like this guy. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is where they shine for sure. I mean, I think all of us except Bill crit during that part 1. It was crazy how many crits were going on.
I also think, I would say my other favorite part was when Jacques jumped on the dog, stuck the dynamite in and said, light it up. And I kept sitting there right next to him thinking, he's going to die.
Yeah. Right here.
Yeah, I was thinking
but it was so
thing.
cool.
It didn't even one-shot the fucking dog, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
I
let you roll it. That was you.
Well, that's true. I don't, yeah. That was pretty fun, though.
My favorite line was when Pam said,
Uh-oh.
yeah, we can put them in timeout or something. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I literally just anything that came out of Pam's mouth, I was being my mom. I was totally I do Pilates. It was like, oh man.
Pam had a lot of good lines. I was impressed.
Yeah, it was super good. When I was editing, I think I messaged you guys just when Rippin in his voice is like, "No, there are no doggies."
Yeah.
This fucking slayed me. This is a fun party. I would watch this party again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did it feel like to play a little bit, Leland? It's probably been a while since you've played, right? You have another.
I do play in another regular game. It was cool playing with you guys for sure. I mean, that was the first time I had been a player with any of you.
Player backup DM.
I mean, technically you play with us a lot. You're an NPC, but those NPCs are then all-knowing in a way too. Unless you play them as not all-knowing. But, Brendel, for instance, comes to mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
Let's not.
I think we were playing, I was laughing my ass off the whole time playing. I thought it was so fucking funny. And I love Jacques. I fucking love Jacques so much. Oh, he's my favorite. No, it was really cool. I think the tri-classing was funny and stupid and pointless, but I would do it again. I mean, obviously.
Right.
I mean, if you start us at 5th level, I might quintuple class.
Do not.
What would you make the other 2 classes?
Do you have the stats to do that?
Well, that's the thing. You'd have to have the stats to back it up. You'd have to pick some overlapping stats for sure. If I had Charisma 13 and Strength 13 and Int 13, I could be a fighter,
Wizard, warlock, sorcerer,
paladin,
fighter.
Warlock, wizard, something. Yeah, something just stupidly inane.
You don't want to be a bard?
Oh yeah, charisma. I can bard it up too. Yeah, there's the fifth one, bard.
What do you got against bards?
I don't need a party. I am the party.
I didn't come to party. I am the party.
Yes, I like it.
I would certainly love to play these characters again, though, in like another, like, quote unquote continuation, like another one shot. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start preparing. Maybe in a couple months we could do that.
Let's do it.
Launch in February 1st. Stay tuned.
No.
I have to try not to metagame now, because now that I know that Jacques is into Pam, I don't know if she'll be so supportive.
Oh no! I ruined the dynamic.
We
can never be friends again.
Find out about this.
Yeah, I do think it was nice to have a party that all kind of works together and is, not fighting with each other nonstop. It'd be
supportive of each other.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it. I don't know how I feel about that. The sneakiness and lying and or not. I mean, I don't know that we're all lying to each other, but we have hidden information for each other. That's kind of fun. I don't know. Maybe it's annoying, but I think it's fun.
Not enough time to be deceptive in a one shot.
Yeah, no, there's not.
What were you saying, Bill?
I was just gonna say I think it's a really cool dynamic that we add to our story, where we have people. We show what it's like for a DM to take someone into another room and role play a little bit of a scene with just them, and then that becomes information that the rest of the party doesn't know. I know lots of groups do that, but I don't hear it done very often on podcasts. So I think it's cool that we do that, and I think it's interesting as a player to have bits and pieces that I don't know.
Yeah, but it's also nice that occasionally when you work together, you can really accomplish stuff.
Yeah. That's kind of the point I was making. Is that it's kind of refreshing to have a party that's a bit more cohesive and striving for the same goal and on the same page. And it's like, one person suggests this or that, and everyone's like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Instead of, no, I'm going to go off and do my own thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It was weird to be a good character, honestly. I had to think, I want them to succeed too, and yeah. I did.
It's a whole new feeling. You've never had that before.
I've never had
in
that.
D&D.
It really, in D&D, it showed me how, it's only been 2 characters, right? It's only been 2 experiences, and yeah, I don't know. I want to learn to play it all so that, I can really remove myself more from the whole situation and not, get in my own way.
I really learned to appreciate chaotic good alignment, because I feel like it's very flexible. Generally you're doing good things, but you're chaotic, so it's your interpretation as to what's good and what's not. Whereas lawful good it's very. I could see that being very challenging to play a character like that. And restrictive.
Is that what Shakara is? She lawful?
I just wrote good. I didn't write what kind of good. But I think paladins generally are lawful good.
It depends on the type of paladin, I guess. I'm lawful neutral as McRibbon, but I sort of looked at him as sort of doing some of the wrong things for the right reasons kind of guy.
Oh yeah, well that's where the Punisher example came in, which is kind of cool.
But he's still going to frown upon you guys doing things that he doesn't feel are lawful or
the
are good.
Anti-hero.
But you don't really get into a lot of that with a one-shot, so
no.
Just sort of gives you the feel for it. So, Emily, any other words you want to give to anybody for trying out to being a DM, or anything that you think you learned through the process? Or because we've been sort of a learning podcast all the way up to this point, and now going into chapter 2, we're going to sort of get away from that a little bit. And so we will sort of want to end it on this one shot to give everybody a taste of, a little bit of what it would be like to be a fresh DM, and a little bit of information on what you would have to go through to do that. So, any last suggestions?
Yeah. I don't think, I didn't know exactly what everybody's character could do, but I don't think you necessarily need to, as long as the characters know what their character can do, and just know the basic rules. One thing I did mess up is, Elena, when you shot your crossbow, you should have added your proficiency bonus. to your attack roll, which you did not do several times.
Oh, whatever.
Also, like Lena had said earlier, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, and you can, like, work it out with your party. I think that came out okay, where we talked about, well, it would work like this, and we figured it out together. I think that worked.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've listened to some other podcasts where the DMs actually, there might be one character who knows the rules a whole lot better than the DM, but the DM, is that person chose that person to be the DM for whatever other skills they bring to the table. And I agree, there's totally nothing wrong with saying, I'm not sure, like how should we do this, or what's the rule, and ask your players what they think, and then come to something that you think is fair.
Because you're all playing together, and if it's not fun for everybody, then what's the point of doing it? I mean, you're there to have fun, main thing.
I think Leland a few times kind of jumped into explaining as usual. Eye roll.
I did appreciate it, though.
But that's the thing. As long as you all understand, like, that it's in order to have fun or play correctly or whatever, no one's gonna judge if you needed help on the rules.
Yeah, I think the DM should have the ultimate call. They're the one who is responsible for keeping things fair and balanced in the world that they're creating or the story that they're telling. But nothing wrong with asking your players for their opinions or help on rules or whatever it may be.
Hold on, a DM's supposed to be fair and balanced? Leland! We've been lied to!
What is this bullshit? I never should have let Emily do a one-shot.
Fair and balanced. Brendel my butt.
I will say, counter to what you guys just said, it is something that I think as a DM you should make up stuff. Enjoy it. Go with it.
Yeah.
Some things might sound stupid. Some things might not work out very well. But I think suboptimal situations make for the best role-playing. And sometimes when you just come up with something on the fly and it just seems overly crazy, everybody's laughing and has a good time with it. And I think that's something as a new DM you would be afraid to do and feel like you're going to do something wrong. And I don't think there's anything you can do wrong. I think you just you go with it and enjoy it. And the only way to get better at being able to make stuff up on the fly is by practicing and doing it.
Yeah.
And I think Leland does a fantastic job of pulling stuff out of his ass all the time and making it seem like it was planned, right? Because a really good DM, you'll sit down and go, hey, this is what he had in store all the time. And like I think Elena said before, half the time I think we give him ideas as we're, sitting there talking.
No.
This could be this.
I've never taken a single idea from any one of you. Every idea that you hear in the main show is
confirmation
wholly and entirely
right
my own.
We get talking at an after party, and I'm like, shh.
Yeah.
Ready, John? I will also add to that, John. I completely agree with all those sentiments. And I will say that you undoubtedly will regret some of the things you make up. 100%.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, shit, if you really want to, you can be like, you know what, guys? That thing I said last session, I don't really like it. I think I would like it to be this way. And of course, it depends on the situation, but that's what you can do.
So maybe he's not a deep scion?
Falzarin is definitely a deep scion.
Well, I was going to say, in for us, it may be a little different because of the format in which we play, right? And that's another thing for future one-shots. I'm of the opinion, especially moving into Chapter 2, where we're really going to try to create this nicely polished product. And I've been thinking a lot of how much more I may want to edit out of episodes as far as like cross table talk that isn't necessarily pertinent to the story that we're trying to tell. And obviously that's a greater conversation that we should have off mic before moving into the new year here. But that's kind of one of the main things I've really been thinking of that for the show moving forward. And because, like, I don't know, I obviously love listening to us, and I will listen to anything that the five of us get on and record. I mean, I laugh incredibly at all of the stuff that I cut out. but I don't think that makes a good podcast, right? But I mean, that's just my opinion, of course, right? Unfortunately, my opinion is law because I am also lawful neutral and I edit this fucking thing. So
You do have the
your
editing.
opinion's the only one that matters.
I mean, I think it's the twist between is the audience sitting around the table playing with a bunch of friends, or are you doing an audio drama and you're trying to put people into the emotion of what's going on?
right.
They're two different things.
They are two different things. I do think that a balance, I do think there is a balance there. And I think we've been doing a pretty damn good job of hitting that balance. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. But maybe we want to teeter that totter one way or the other, right?
Well, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Wait, what are we doing? Teetering the totter?
We're teetering that totter with the boom boom stick. Okay. I was going to say, Leland, and ask all of you guys too, actually. Did you guys I felt like in these 2 sessions, we kind of broke the fourth wall a lot. Did you guys like that? I
There
thought it
was
funny.
so much metagaming.
I didn't.
Once again,
I
again,
didn't
is that
notice
what-
actually. While we were playing, anyway, I didn't.
Listening back, I think it's hilarious, and I mean, I don't, like Leland said, I will listen to anything, but yeah, like, there's the teeter-totter of polished versus breaking the fourth wall, and, like, looking into the camera like Jim, or whatever.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up because I also thought a very similar thing. And I kind of thinking on the lines, well, hey, if we do move onto that one side of the totter and to the more like audio drama centric or in the vein of an audio drama, an unscripted audio drama, obviously, as we will still be playing and still
with
be making up
professional
shit,
actors,
right?
obviously.
But like if we start to do more of these one shots, I kind of was like, you know what, this one shot was really was a combination of the main show and an after party smushed together.
Yeah, it was more chill.
Yeah, and I kind of really liked the vibe of it. I thought it was super cool. I mean, obviously, it was still in this vein of or this perception of a learning opportunity, right? And we have stated in the last main after party that we're moving away from that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's but I totally picked up on what you're saying, Elena. I don't know if I would call it fourth wall breaking. I think Jacques spoke a lot in character, and everything he said was always in character.
Yeah, I think there was a. Sorry, do you want to go ahead, John?
Go ahead, Bill. No, go ahead.
I think there was a decent amount of, maybe that's what Elena was meaning, is that we did a fair bit of talking out of character to, try and there was a bit of puzzle solving in this one shot, and so I think that lends itself to the players talking and talking to each other and with the DM to try and solve problems and figure out what they're supposed to do, as opposed to role playing.
I just thought of an example that I'm sure Elena will agree with. It's probably what she's talking about. At one point, when Drudge was stuck in the gears and finally got his way out of the gears, and he's just like, or maybe it was during combat or something, but Emily was like, yeah, Drudge, you can make your way over. And Jacques was like, where the hell is Drudge? Has anyone said Drudge? And because he's been stuck in the gears for 30 seconds.
Right.
Is that what you mean, Elena? Like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt looser, I guess. And I felt like we were sometimes like you were calling Bill Falzard, like things like that. I thought it was funny. And it was like acknowledging that we have other characters in another podcast and another, and...
Well, I didn't mean to call him Falzard.
I know. I think like if we are to, or whatever the progression becomes, like stay in character and not... like what did I said some type of check in Bill's like, what's Arcana, or like,
oh yeah,
I
he's
don't
like,
know,
you
something like
wouldn't
that.
know.
Like,
Yeah, because Pam was like, I'm really good at Arcana checks, let me do one.
yeah, so like maybe I was just constantly breaking that character, I guess, but I thought it was fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
obviously we have to have this conversation off mic, like you said, but
This will probably be, I'm not sure exactly when this is being released, if there will be enough time for listener feedback before we do go into the new year and a new chapter and kind of set our sights on a slightly different aim for our show. But if any listeners wanted to comment about what they like, what they don't like, and suggestions, we'd be happy to hear them. Are you interested in more of a strictly audio drama and less, chitter chatter between all of us and goofing around? Or, what sort of things do you like to hear?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd certainly be open to that feedback. And I know we all kind of thought, well, I think we all like the format of our after parties, but maybe they're also not really, like, maybe there's something we could do differently with them too. I don't know. Maybe. So yeah, if the Incorrigible Lights out there have any suggestions, for sure, we'd love to hear them. I do think our small fan base is small but rabid, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah. They're into us. I mean, that's the thing, too, is when you say the Incorrigible Party is about to try to get more polished, I just am like, this is an oxymoron.
It's like trying to polish a turd.
Yeah, we're going to be the most polished turd out there.
When I say that, I certainly, that is not a criticism on any of your parts, right? I'm predominantly coming from my own perspective of my DMing style. I mean, we just spent 2 minutes saying how much I spitball a bunch of shit. I want to attempt to be much more prepared than I have been since we started this podcast. I mean, I feel like, certainly I can tell certain sections of our story we get to, and just because of the way it happens, as far as recording schedule, and also the spot where we leave off between our own play sessions, it's very clear where and what you guys will be doing the next time we pick up. So obviously for those instances, I'm incredibly prepared. Perfect example was going to Erica. Once you guys had grabbed them crabs and we're off on the beach, that was the end of one of our sessions, and we picked up with you guys driving to. And I had tons of it prepared. I mean, I basically made a little mini dungeon, right? Because I was able to know exactly where you were going, and I feel like I want to find a way to be able to do that still in moments of spontaneity with the party. And I think that I can do that better. So that's really what I mean when I use the term polish. I'm of course really speaking about my own habits.
You also sometimes, like with Tolstoff or other characters, I know you've even added some stuff in post, like you have really great descriptions and speeches and things like lined up, which adds to the audio drama-ness, polishedness.
Yes, and I want to have more of those prepared. Because
to the listener, they don't know that we didn't hear it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. And there are, the perfect instance was with Zombie Thuff's description in session 56.
Right.
I went and I fluffed it up a little bit in post to make it more effective because of course, and it's always something that I'm like, man, I want this to be effective and poignant for the party, and I don't believe that I did good enough job as I think that I could do in the moment because of the way things move. And that was again a perfect example of that happening because we knew we wanted a satisfying finishing point, right? Because it was going to be such a big gap between the actual play and release of our main show, and we really didn't know where we were going to get to it or how long it was going to take us to get to it. So it almost felt to me like by the time we got to the end of that episode, it was all really rushed for me. So that's of course when I forget to do these little interesting things that at least I think are interesting that I have planned that I want to do, but thankfully because we're in a podcast medium, I'm able to go and ramp those things up and actually still be able to do those things. And obviously, I try not to do anything that would, had you guys heard it in the moment, it would have changed what your character would do, right? Like obviously, not to that degree, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of talking about having a bit more exposition and description. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And not like bloating episodes worth of exposition,
Right.
but like
No,
descriptive exposition, short and concise exposition.
Yeah.
And we all could do a better job of describing what we're doing and what we want to do and things like that. I think even in this one shot, there's a few times where it's like, Emily was like, describe it to me. And John was like, tell me what
Right.
you see. And I think that's like really good prompting that we could continue to do with each other because we can easily get into the routine of like, I slash him for 5 damage. Like, that's boring.
Sure. And to that point, and now I'm all these things I've been mulling over for the past 2 weeks are finally like coming back to me. And again, we could probably should just have this conversation off mic, but
why have it
like,
off mic?
That's what all the
those
patrons are
rabid
paying
fans.
for. They want
like
the
an
juicy
instance,
details.
of more polished editing, and if again from my like production view, right? Like when you guys are having inter-character chats and conversations, and at one point one character is saying something to another about world knowledge that they would have, and then they are then forced to stop mid exposition of their own and ask the dungeon master, is that right? And I would just say, yeah, you're totally good to keep going. Like those are the kinds of things, those instances, like why can't we just cut those out and make it fluid as if the whole character is speaking as if they have the knowledge, right? Like, so those are the aspects that I really mean when I say like,
so it's all on you,
polish
Leland,
it up.
okay? It's all your like when we say, hey, Leland, and just cut that out, but that's more work for you, but
Well, okay. Well, that's the thing. It doesn't amount to that much work, one. And also, though, it is put a little more onus on you guys as players to be able to, while recording, make a good cut spot, basically, right? Like,
Pause.
exactly. So, or reiterate the last sentence you just spoke. That kind of thing.
We could just go beep real loud when we need you to cut.
No, what I mean is when we've done it in this episode recording that I will have to cut out and work around. When we speak over each other and someone starts to say something, but then they stop because someone else continues to speak. And then that person then says, and sorry, you were about to say something. And then that person who was about to say something says, yeah, I was just going to say that instead they should just start speaking as if no one asked them what they were going to say, right?
Which is why I got my own mic. You can cut me out.
Yeah, I've muted you for the last 30 minutes. So
Yes.
I think, on the topic of exposition and descriptors and that sort of thing, even if you haven't done as much as you have maybe wanted to at times, Leland, I think the story is making up for that because, the cliffhanger at the end is a great example of maybe in the moment you didn't do a whole lot of description, but my memory was certainly, or my imagination was certainly filling in the blanks, and I was like knocked back onto my socks were knocked off when you described the scene that we had walked into.
Yeah, that was great.
Just unbelievable, and Bryn is the worst. I'm sorry. Just cut more of that out, Leland.
Be interesting to see how that fireball tastes for all of us.
Freaking fireball bead. Those little things to add from our
Shakara
memory
be
too,
fine.
right? Like, genius. I'll only say it once. Did we get any questions about the one shot?
Yeah, I was just say, speaking of the listeners.
well, hold on. John's been trying to say something for the last
Hold
5
on,
minutes.
he's gonna cut.
No, that's okay.
He's gonna
John
cut
on
that
6
out.
times
I
now.
was gonna say he's gonna cut that out.
I was just gonna say the only thing.
you
that,
just
Wait, no,
did.
he's gonna say it. He's gonna cut it out.
Pause for a second. I was just gonna say.
He said it anyway.
Well, all that's going to be in now.
did it
That's in the final cut now. You just...
No, hell, let's move on to questions at this point.
I think I just peed my pants a little bit.
Oh no!
Getting
Is that not going to get edit. You know what? Whenever we say edit it out, he doesn't. So.
Oh, yeah. That's in there for sure.
So leave it in, Leland.
So, John, you were just going to say.
I wasn't going to say anything. I just occasionally look like I'm opening my mouth to say something, and I just shut up. So what questions do we have?
Well, we have a few from Jessica, as usual. Thank you, Jessica.
She's rabid.
Thank you,
She's
Jess.
a rabbit. She's the rabbitest.
Oui, oui.
She sends over Instagram. She contacted us at Encourageable Party on Instagram. She says, awesome episode, guys. You guys felt really relaxed and loose with your role play, and it was so fun to listen to. Do you think you were less nervous about things because it was a one-shot, or more nervous because you have limited time with that character? What was your favorite part of the new character, and is there anything you would change if you're going to play the character for a long time?
I was more nervous.
Yeah, I believe it's more nervous.
Same.
Really? I was less nervous.
I think I felt exactly the same as I do every time.
Or
I
the
play.
same, yeah.
Maybe just a little bit uncomfortable with playing a paladin, but I figured, if I screw it up, either somebody will catch it or nobody will. We'll have good stuff for the after party. I wasn't too worried about it. And what was the other parts of the question? Like, do you like about your character? Was that the second part?
Yeah, what did you like best? What was your favorite part of them? And is there anything you would change if you were going to play that character in like a long-running campaign?
No, I just didn't think I got to explore the character enough because it was just basically going in a couple battles and stuff. But I really liked the character, and I'd look forward to doing another one-shot with him. But I don't think there's anything I'd want to change at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a damn thing about Jacques.
You guys are going to have to level up.
Ooh. What did I like about Pam? I liked that she was easy to play. I was just literally imitating my mom in her most annoying ways. She doesn't listen to this, it's fine. If I could change one thing, I probably would not be a bard. I don't know, I thought it would be fun and cool, and maybe I just need more time. It's hard to tell. It's
hard to be a support character, though, because well, I know, for me, I like to be up in the action.
And I think I do, too.
That's one of the things I really liked about Gozer being the barbarian, is being up in everybody's face.
It's very like Pam, though, to be supportive, and she was definitely being a cheerleader. That was like what I went for. And
Perfect
so like Bard
character,
fits
for
her.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, if I could change anything, maybe I would like not lose my scarf in the first place. I would just put it away in my purse for later.
That was honestly the best fucking part of this thing. That stupid
Like, you're
scarf.
going back for the scarf.
Your two short scarves.
I was talking to Bill today. I was like, all of a sudden I pull out like a kid's name. I'm like, I guess my son's name's Ben now. I was like, shout out to Bill Ben.
So I kind of want to expound on her question there then. Do you guys think that as they are, because Bill, you had mentioned you put quite a bit of effort
Bill didn't even answer.
Into the backstory. Yeah, sorry. You don't get to answer. Sorry. We're moving on to this one.
Splice it in, edit it in later.
Maybe you can
As
lump
I was
your
going
answer
to say.
into all three. Get out of here. Do you guys think that your characters as they stand are fleshed out enough to be put into a long-running campaign? And by that I mean, do you think there's enough there that you wouldn't get bored, say, maybe once we ran them another 3 or 4 levels? Do you think your characters have enough staying power? Let's start with Bill. Maybe he can give us a large answer that incorporates all 3 of those questions.
Well, I've forgotten what the questions were now. So
Well, I can't repeat them for a third time.
What did you like about your character? What would you change
No,
about your character?
Elena, no.
yeah, so I think my biggest hang up with this character is trying to do the accent all the time. I think it would be, I'd either need to do a lot more practice off mic to feel comfortable, because it would be cumbersome for me, and maybe it was a lot less obvious to the listener than it was to me in the moment or listening back. But
you know what though about that? Sorry, before you continue, I wanted to say I really liked how I liked the fact that you quote unquote, struggling to maintain the accent, actually resulted in a very interesting and like slow and methodical cadence to Drudge's speech. I thought was really cool as a result of that.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think listening back, he sounded way cooler than like sitting next to you sweating, trying to like. But like it came across really well. You did fine. You did great.
Yeah, so maybe it wasn't obvious to the listener how awkward it felt for me in the moment, but yeah, that would, apart from the accent, apart from me stressing out about the prospect of doing that accent for every episode, for many, many episodes in the future, if we were to continue a campaign with the character, I think I put lots of effort into his backstory and thought into it, so it would be a character I'd find interesting and with lots of facets for me to be able to play off of moving forward. So yeah, I'd be happy to play Drudge in an ongoing campaign. As for, I think I already mentioned, yes, I was more nervous. I felt like I was back in episode 1, just getting used to podcasting again and being super anxious on mic. But yeah, it is what it is. What's the name for that? If you're terrified of heights, you should go skydiving type thing.
Face your fears. Flooding.
Yes, flooding. It's a little bit of flooding therapy for me. So I think it'll get easier every time. But yeah, I liked Drudge. I think he's an interesting character with different layers that you could peel back over a campaign. So I'd be happy to play him.
Would he suck any of our blood?
It would be an ongoing struggle for him. He'd be very torn and what's the word?
Next one shot might be more of a temptation for you.
Yeah, he'd be struggling. He'd be struggling with his nature versus nurture, and he comes from a long line of bad guys. Well, at least one bad guy.
I wish Falzarin had a cool backstory like Drudge, because I love to run with that. That would be awesome to have in a campaign. Falzarin's so boring.
Wah wah.
I'm sorry, Deep Scion is not interesting enough for you.
We've had enough Deep Scions. We need new blood. So let's bring in Drudge.
The Brendel twist blew Falzarin's socks off.
Oh, unbelievable. I did not see it coming whatsoever.
Well, Elena and John, do you guys think you would be able to maintain interest in these characters?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You think you could do Pam?
Don't you know? Yeah.
Being a bard?
I would do it.
Or would you multi-class?
I'd probably, from becoming friends with Jacques, be like, take a level of rogue or something. But no, I would do it and love it. I would have to come up with like how her family and husband like lets her go adventuring for such a long time. But she's totally oops, I did it again. Like, whatever, I don't know. I was waiting to use that line, didn't work out, but
you should have done it when your scarf got caught the second time. Oh, no!
Dang it!
It fell right into your lap.
Edit it in.
I like McRibbon. I really would like to explore more of his dark side. I like the fact that I wanted to give him a reason to get up in front and not really care about, death in a way, almost like it's a gift if it happens. And I really like to explore more of a frontline character that I usually don't get to play. So no, I'd love to play McRibbon a little bit more.
That's cool. That's good to hear. So Jess continues. Question for Emily. Did you find with the DMing that you fell into that zone where you forget you were podcasting? I'm going to answer that one for you. I'll say yes. As you said, you do when role-playing the rest of the time. And she also really appreciated the decision to have the characters know each other. What brought you to that decision? And the reason I answer for you is because that still made it into the recording. There were quite a few instances of you doing stuff on webcam without saying anything for the podcast.
Oops, she forgot.
That we all react to and laugh, and the listener's like, what the fuck just happened?
If you
Yeah, I
would
was
just
just
stop
playing with you guys.
talking, I would tell you. Sorry,
Yeah, I
had
was just
to-
playing with my friends. Yeah. I mean, there was enough going on for me to try and have both Clockwork Guardians and know what the hell was going on with them, and the three little, they're
Gremlins.
called Azure Gremlins or something. Azra Gremlins. The Lightning Gremlins guys, and the Air Elemental, and the Gears, and just trying to keep all of that straight. I was not at all worried about the fact that it was being recorded. That was Leland's problem.
Right?
Oh, it always is. So how come you made us know each other?
I just thought it would be fun. I wanted a backstory where I didn't want to have to try and come up with a way that you guys came together. I just wanted to start with you together. Since you were starting at 3rd level and you were... I thought it would be easier for me, for one, but then also nice for you guys that you don't have to come up with a way of how you meet, and you don't have that awkward character meeting. You already know each other.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, I liked that, actually. I liked that you just kind of threw us into it and skipped that whole beginning necessity that often happens in campaigns where you meet in a tavern and yada yada.
Yeah.
I mean, some of you did technically meet in the tavern.
Yeah, that's true.
In the backstory.
So that was all that Jess had.
I like a movie that starts out with the action. You know, the scene opens up and a guy's running down the hallway and somebody's chasing him.
Yeah.
That's sort of I like when you start a D&D
in media res
session
or whatever it is.
and you're right in the middle of it, right? And you don't have time to think. I think that's a fun way to do it.
Now, I know there were some comments from Mike Caldwell, but why don't we finish with those? Because he says some stuff about that we may as well talk about, since we've talked about a lot of shit in this one that aren't related to the one shot. But I'm obviously not trying to instigate us shitting on Emily, but was there things that us as players were frustrated with in this one shot?
Bring it on.
Polish the turd.
All open with the one thing that for most of at least the last half of that second part, I was on tilt because of me not being able to run under those gears without bonking my head.
Yeah, I
like,
messed
"What?"
up big time. No, I messed up big time with those gears. I should have made them closer to the floor so that you had to climb over them, or it was more of a challenge to climb under them. That was one of my biggest regrets with this thing.
Oh, it was still a challenge to climb under them for some of
No,
us.
you know what though? I honestly think it was fine as it was. It was just I'm 2.5 feet tall. That's like me walking at 6'3" into a room that has 8-foot ceilings, and I'm
Right.
in fear of bonking my head. Right?
Right. You probably should have just been able to walk under
I
them
should,
without
yeah,
a roll.
right. I should have just been able to,
Yeah.
but it was fine. It's totally fine, because yeah, you like you said, there were like other like pistons and shafts still coming up on the floor and stuff, and there were obstacles
Frickin'
to be
shaft.
bumped into.
But you would have seen them and walked around them.
Well, oh yeah, okay, sure.
At least you didn't get grinded between the gears.
With
I just
the
really
piece
wanted to
that
crush
may or may
somebody.
not have been working at the time.
Well, and you know what's funny is like those gears would have been like grinding your head.
Oh yeah, right. I'd be so
They're
dead.
pretty tall. Oh no.
But the other fucking thing was when that stupid battery just hit me, and I didn't even get to make a save. I was because by then I was like, I'm going downhill into the anger train, and that's probably why, like, choo the station, we're here. That's probably why Jacques got so pissed too. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna put it into Jacques, and he's gonna be.
Well, Jacques, like, claiming that he didn't start the fight. Hello. Like, come
But
on.
also the Clockwork Hunter and Dog didn't get a save against when you guys were using electricity downstairs.
No, because we rolled an attack.
Well, how do you know they
was
didn't roll
a
an attack?
D20 was still rolled.
Right.
I could have rolled for that.
You didn't.
Whoa.
I'd say one of the most frustrating things for me was trying to get in the door. As hitting with a 14 with my great axe.
Didn't hit its AC.
And
Right.
well, there was no I mean, at least you give the door a lot of damage. Was what I would say. I would say I'm not missing the door.
Well, I mean, but if it doesn't hit its AC, you're not doing any damage to it, right?
Oh, that's where Pam critted, because Pam walks up and she's like, crit.
Well, yeah, that was just
That's
good
right.
story beat. But I think for destructible objects, yeah, they have that AC because I think it like represents their hardness or something. So obviously, the like stone has a higher AC than wood does, right? So yeah, I think I get what Emily's talking about. But that was funny that it took us like 10 minutes to get into the fucking tower.
You tried to pick the lock. You failed with all your skills. I started beating the hell out of it with an axe, and then Pam comes up and goes, "Look, guys, you just turned it."
But you rolled 14 twice, and the AC was 15.
Yeah,
I probably should have just given that to you.
Frustrating.
I probably like
Maybe,
that's close
yeah,
enough.
just get us in there.
Yeah.
I think to be honest, Emily, and this is, your frustration made me frustrated. Like at the end, right? Where you're
I was
like, I
so
don't know.
frustrated by the end.
And so
I was
it's
so
hard.
butthurt. That was my temper tantrum.
No, but I also agreed with you. Like, rightfully, you didn't know what things were, and on the spot, it's hard to come up with it. And we're also all, like, thinking, is this it? Is this the end? Did we do it? Like, what wraps it up, you know? So,
Yeah, I don't know.
fine. We're fine. It was like, it didn't take away from the fun of it, but I felt like it did for you, so then I was worried that you weren't having fun, you know?
Yeah, I was definitely frustrated by the end of that.
I think that's a good thing for a one-shot, though, as a new DM, to have a thing that you go, this is sort of what wraps it up. Kill the big boss, open the thing, you know, have that thing that knows, sort of gives you the hang on to know that it's over.
It's probably
Yeah.
our fault for not remembering what the thing was.
Well, no, honestly, we didn't solve shit in that Clockwork Tower. We just left the poor air elemental in there. I still don't understand how that building itself
How
works.
would we get into the area?
I don't know.
Like, I have no idea what the actual orb thing that it was in was doing. I don't know what. So I have no concept of how the inside of this building works. I know it has 4 walls and a bunch of shit in it. That is all that Jacques knows.
I would have said it was an air elemental that was captured into this ball that was generating power to make the clock.
So it was like
what
a
I
wind
thought the
turbine.
whole time.
It's like a turbine,
Oh,
right? And that's how it made.
cool.
Right, that's what I would have
A wind
said.
turbine? I never thought of that.
That's super cool.
I thought when initially I saw that sphere that was like giving off electricity that it was probably being harnessed to power the clock tower, but then I don't think that's the case based on the second floor because there was a battery up there that was powering all the gears and stuff. So
No, the battery on the table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't think it was.
I don't think that was, well,
It wasn't powering
I mean,
anything.
nobody knows
That's
apparently.
the thing. Who knows?
It says it was hinted in the clockmaker's blueprints, the blueprints that Pam and or Drudge found on the far
yeah, but all
desk.
I could tell was that they were blueprints.
But which desk was it on, Emily?
The far desk.
Maybe those are the things we can edit out.
It's meant to perform a magical ritual over years, granting elemental power over lightning to the inhabitants of the tower. But to figure that out, you'd have to study the plans for a very long time in the
interesting.
tower. So
Interesting.
it really wasn't meant for you guys to figure it out.
Figure out, right. So how would we have gotten the air elemental out? Did it have like a way for us to like unlatch something?
Melt the brass.
Well, certainly not blow it up.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, dynamite.
that was not it.
Why else was the dynamite in the box? Come on.
To give it to the gremlins.
Oh, right. Forgot about that.
which, to be honest, if I were to rewind back into this campaign and we had the dynamite in our bag and and we knew that the gremlins wanted something as a bribe to leave, and you've got these little mischievous gremlins, like, I'm not giving them dynamite.
Oh yeah, I would not trust those little fucks with dynamite.
You know what I
Hell
mean?
no.
I didn't know they wanted dynamite, or else I would be like, sure, honey.
They only
sure.
asked us half a dozen times, we don't want to leave, but what will you give us to get the fuck out of here?
Yeah, like, who wants dynamite? I don't know.
It seems like that'd be a terrible character decision.
I agree.
Yeah.
I honestly super agree. And it's a good thing that Jacques didn't have both boom boom sticks, because he probably would have thrown the second one at those little shits. And like, blah, 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 like this son of a bitch, and whipped it out or something.
Just absolute
Just lucky
chaos.
they didn't lightly explore downstairs and find them themselves.
Right?
Yeah, really. So it says a character who can speak Auran, Auran, learns of the elemental's desire for freedom. If the characters free the creature, requiring several days' worth of work and 3 consecutive successful DC
Days.
15 intelligence checks, it grants them a boon, a wand of lightning bolts. If the characters smash the
Days.
sphere, the elemental bound to it dies.
And so I think that lends more credence to what John was saying as far as how to utilize something like this is if we knew we were playing these characters and this was just a weird side thing we did in our main campaign, we would leave with that wand of electricity or whatever, like wand of lightning, and be able to use it not in the encounters in the tower, but for the rest of our story kind of thing.
Right.
That totally makes sense. But there was no way we were going to spend 3 days there for 50 gold. Yeah, right.
Right.
Right. And also that sphere was only supposed to have 2 charges in it. I let you guys use it as many times as you wanted. Because I like it.
Oh, that was
I
good.
like it too.
Hey, that's DMing on the fly
That's
right
good
there.
DMing, yeah.
You get bonus points for that.
But you did deny the chain lightning.
That was a little far, I think.
That was another thing I actually wanted to commend you on, Emily, is I thought even though, yeah, there were some large sections that you didn't know about and didn't make up on the fly, there was a lot of stuff that you did make up on the fly. Like when McRibbon tossed that puppy across the fucking room and you improvised the damage and all that stuff. So there was a lot of stuff that you did improvise extremely well and was very well done.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I learned it by watching you.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job, Em, for that being, the
Thank
second
you.
time you've DM'd, or...
First time all by myself. The other time John was with me right there, and he took care of all the monster damage and all that stuff, and all I had to do was wrangle the characters.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, regardless if that was your second or 5th or 10th time, I thought it was great.
Yeah, you did so good. You, make me nervous. I want to DM. Again, we're supposed to be, encouraging new people to try it, but I don't know the rules that well. I'd probably say something that I regret, like Leland says, or then we're talking about all the things I got wrong later about it. I don't know. But you made it seem doable for sure.
You can do it. You should 100% do it. I mean, look, all you have to do is listen back to the Clockwork Tower after party, and it's just your guide, your 101. DMing 101, what not do's and not to do's. We got it covered for you.
The things. Be prepared.
But again, you don't need to know all the rules, right? I mean, obviously, I will interject that it seems like I can't help myself, but to
Again,
interject.
I appreciated that.
So
No,
obviously,
it's
you
fine.
have all of us to
I
back
would
you up.
literally, my style of DM would end up being okay, so you should probably do a check. What kind of check should they do? That's how bad I would have to be.
And
'cause
I don't think there's
get-
anything wrong with a DM not being the expert of the group when it comes to the player's handbook.
But Emily knew her crap. She'd be like, okay, give me this check. She was authoritative.
Well,
about it.
that's more and that's something I learned from John Davis. He does all kinds of checks when we play with him. It's more okay, what kind of situation is this? And then what kind of check? Well, that seems like something that would be requiring somebody to use their brain. So that's an intelligence check. And then, I don't know if you noticed, a lot of times I would be like, well, use this one or this one. They're both strength
yeah, you
checks,
gave
but which
options,
whatever,
which I thought was cool.
Which is
Yeah.
another thing I learned from John Davis. Is use which one is better for you.
You could have a piece of scrap paper, taped down to your notepad or whatever, saying, these are all the different checks, and then you just refer to that when you think a check is
it not on a
appropriate to see
DM
which.
screen?
Well, probably, yeah.
It's on the character sheet.
When we play, I have a blank character sheet in front of me because I have the list of skills right in front of me, and
Yeah, there you go.
I could list them all off obviously, but it's nice to have it there at a glance. But also, all that we really need to do is as players make a bit of a tweak in how we play and be more cognizant of us asking if we can do a particular check in an instance.
Right.
We don't
When
do that a
when
lot.
I walk it up to that door, I say, "Can I make a sleight of hand check to try to pick this lock?"
Yeah.
I mean, that's something
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
simple that we all could do to help you
So
out,
maybe
too.
part of that's how, like, we've only really learned from a DM who often is like, give me a sleight of hand check.
Exactly. That's exactly
Okay.
right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Well, Emily sounded like she knew what was up, so it made me
I
scared.
fooled you.
Yeah.
Hey, that's part of being a good DM is fooling your players. That's right.
Then when you need to know like the mechanics of how grappling works or how being prone works, like it's not crucial that the DM knows that off the top of their head. One of the characters might be able to be like, oh, I know the rule for that. It works like this.
And I'll also say to further my point of the players asking if they could do a certain check is when the player is going to be like, I think I want to grapple this guy. There is an onus on that player to be like, you know what, how do I grapple? And maybe I can, before my turn comes up, look up the grappling rules in my handy dandy player handbook and be like, okay, I'm going to grapple this guy. Contest the strength check, right? And then,
Sure.
the DM would be like, yeah, hell, let's do it. So, it is more of, it's more of a give and take than I think a lot of newer players probably imagine it is, right?
Yeah.
For sure, at a table with people not being recorded and sent out to the internet, like, I think I'd be fine.
Well, we should honestly, the five of us, just play, but not record. Let's just play. You run us through a game, and we don't have to record it. We should just play.
Yeah.
Well, we just won't tell Elena we're recording it.
Oh,
Yeah, the big mic right in front of her face is not going to be a dead giveaway.
Yeah. We're just trying to make sure that the new mic is functioning properly, and we want to test it a bit more.
We're just testing levels.
definitely. Do an intelligence check here. Or no, a deception.
Yeah.
See, there you go. I can do it.
We should totally play at Origins in person. That would be awesome.
We should.
I want to play in
We should.
person again because it was so weird and different than on
Yeah.
Skype.
Yeah. A little bit more flooding for me.
Are you talking about when you peed yourself, or
Well,
You're getting flooding all over my shoes, Bill.
he said he got a little bit? But...
roll a perception check to see if you are aware of a puddle.
Roll a medicine check so you don't contract something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my stupid laugh that I always hear. On
We're
this
running a
podcast.
little. Oh, everyone thinks they have a dumb laugh. We've all already been
Yeah,
over
we've
this.
talked about it.
I think my laugh is very infectious and awesome. So
Well, we are running long-ish, and we have been all over the place with this after party. Talking about trying to put some polish on this fucking show. But there were some nice comments from Michael Caldwell that he sent in. So Mike says that he didn't get comments in on time for our last after our party, of course, because this is the second after party in a row in which we are recording before all of the episodes release, unfortunately, due to holiday scheduling, but it is what it is. He just says, he didn't see Brendel's betrayal coming, but wasn't surprised, and just kind of talks about how, as we were working through it in the after party, all these moments are clicking with, Brendel coming in back from the lake and in after you in the morning and the Jack Deal and all that stuff. So yeah, I fooled even the rabid fan Michael Caldwell. But I am glad that it's at least seemingly as impactful for the listeners as it was for all of us. I think that really makes me happy to hear, for sure.
I am
so
happy
mad.
you stopped calling people Lelanders. I mean, I'm not sure that rabid fans is better, but
we have to pick our battles sometimes.
frothing at
with
the
Leland.
mouth is like what I picture.
So then he says he thinks King Gozer, aka Emily, which is me, did a good job so far on the first episode. So thank you, Mike. He said during one of the after parties, we made it seem like Bill and John didn't talk much in the one shot. And it certainly doesn't seem like you two are mostly silent. I don't remember making it sound like they didn't say much.
I do remember what he's talking about, as my
Well,
mind is a steel
yeah.
trap. And yeah, because we recorded this so long ago. We weren't expecting to release this as late as we have, just as the kind of things for the show progress. But I do remember talking about it, and like, because I felt like Jacques and Pam, or like Jacques in particular, just wouldn't shut up. Jacques doesn't stop talking. Like, Jacques is just a goblin Elena. It's ridiculous.
Shots fired.
Burn. Well, and Bill was playing up the fact that he felt like he couldn't talk or do his accent. So, like, really listening back, it didn't sound as bad as I remember it. And then McRibbon was kind of a quieter guy, but they did talk more than we thought they did.
Maybe we just don't listen that much.
McRibbon was, my whole idea was just to say just a few things.
Yeah.
It wasn't to be very talkative.
Very minimalistic.
The male paladin version of Gozer.
Almost.
Except in speaking in complete sentences when he does speak.
Pamela!
Oh, jeez.
As I was saying.
This is off the rails.
This is terrible.
This is so bad.
Mike goes on to say this is still the #1 podcast he listens to. He says the Incorrigible Party gets the first priority on his playlist. He will even stop in the middle of other big name shows and switch over to this one every Monday and Thursday. Keep up the great
move over
work.
Critical Role.
Oh, thanks, Mike. That's
You say
so
that all the
nice.
time, Bill. That's your catchphrase, for God's sake.
Yes. He's really excited to learn more about the backstories and see the development of all the things each character has going on off mic from the rest of the group in Chapter 2.
Oh, yeah. That's so nice, though.
All right. Confirmation of the off-mic stuff is appreciated.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. We really appreciate hearing that you're enjoying the show.
Oh, man. Now I feel all, like, happy. Leland knocks me down and Mike picks me back up.
It's a roller coaster ride,
Such
for
is
sure.
the circle of life.
Everybody plays their part, I'm afraid, and I get the bad role, but that's the hand I was dealt, and I will rise to the occasion and make sure everyone is knocked down as many pegs as they need to be knocked down so they can be rebuilt better and stronger and fitter and faster.
Just for the listener to know, that was not an added-in later exposition. Leland was saying that right now on the spot. He did look like he was looking down and reading from a piece of paper.
Yeah, well, it rolls off the tongue when you say it enough. You gotta really believe it, too.
If you don't believe the bullshit you're selling, then how do you expect anyone else to? That's what I learned from Brendel. Okay, let's wrap things up. Just reminding you that there is at the end of the month, or near the end of the month, our recap episode of Chapter 1, serving as kind of a bookend to what we've done so far, and really a great new jumping in point for some of your friends and family that you may want to recommend our podcast to, which would be great.
Give the gift this Christmas of the Incorrigible Party podcast.
Oh, that's a
That
good
polished turd.
line,
It
Bill.
goes really well in a stop.
Now that one, Bill did splice in after post.
Yes. Speaking of splicing in after post, don't forget there is a giveaway coming up, and we'd love some of you listeners to win that. So keep an eye out for it. If you missed it in the last after party, I'll reiterate, you can get a bonus entry by just reaching out to us and saying King Gozer. Email, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, however you want to contact us.
I've been Leland Steele and Jacques the Metier.
I'm John. I'm McRibbon and Shaft.
I'm Elena. I play Bryn, and I play Pam on the one shot.
I'm Bill. I'm Falzarin and Drudge Jed.
And I'm Emily, and I've been your DM. King Gozer lives.
And that's our show. Our intro and outro music was created by Josh Jarvis. For your own musical inquiries, contact jamesmercymusic@gmail.com. All other music and ambient noise is courtesy of tabletopaudio.com. The Encouragement Party is sponsored by Critical Hit Design. Visit criticalhitdesign.com for all of your graphic design needs. You can find more info on the characters and world at encourageableparty.com. Enjoying the show? Have any questions or rules corrections? Email us, contact@encourageableparty.com, or reach out on social media. The Encourageable Party on Facebook and Instagram, @IncouragablePar on Twitter, using the hashtag AfterPartyIP for a shout out during our behind the screen after party episodes that drop every 4th release. Happy adventuring!
So then he says, King Doze... Oh, shit. Cut that out. King Gozer
Yeah,
as DM.
so as I was saying,
All right, this is the after credits. This is so stupid.
I've been John Shafton McRibbon.
I've been Emily, Gozer, Shakara, and the DM.
Whoa.
And-
Wait. No, wait.
And the
Maybe
big water lung baby.
Emily has to go at the end because she's the DM.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
right.
Breathing
Okay.
pod.
I'm
You
gonna
gotta
restart.
say the big mama breathing.
who goes
pod.
first, me or
I'll
Elena?
start. I will start.
So wait, what's the order?
I'm first. Same order, but I'm first. And Emily's
What's the
last.
same order again?
Well, I don't know because I don't have to know because I'm always last.
Must be nice.
I'm second. Go.
But when am
I'm
I?
literally
You're
Leland
last,
Steele.
Bill.
God
You're
damn
before
it.
Emily.
Leland's last.
Your last.
No, it's
Emily's last
Leland,
this time.
John, me, and you. This is how do we have so much post credit in this episode? This is just... Please cut this. Please polish
Yes,
this.
no, this is. Yes, I'm going to polish the fuck out of this pile of shit.
This isn't just a turd anymore.
No, it's not. This is single turd. There are 5
This
turds
is
here.
steaming
Need
pile.
polishing.
Steaming pile.
Bill, you're number 4. Can you count?
A 4, a 1, a 2.
All right.